Good evening, everyone. This one is May-June 2021, paper 2, variant 1, the second part. Yesterday, we discussed the first 20 questions. So, in which equation is the underlying reactant acting as a base? So, what is the definition of a base? For a substance to be a base, it must accept proton. This is our proton acceptor, or it must donate hydroxide ion. So, when we check the first equation, it is H3O become H2O. So it does not accept proton, it donate proton. So that's why it is not an acid. NH4 changes to NH3. 4 changes to 3. So again, that also donate proton, does not accept proton. But this option C, H2O become H3O. So it means the proton number increases. If the proton number increase, what does it mean? It accept proton. And substance which accept proton, what we call? We call that as a base. So C is the right answer. In question 22, why is helium used to fill balloons? Like normal balloons, why it is filled with the helium? Helium is monochromatic, that is true, but that is not the reason why normal balloons are filled with helium. Helium is group 8 of the periodic table. Helium has a full outer shell electron, that's also true. Helium is less dense than air, that's why, like example, when we have a helium balloons, they float and rises up. If the same question was there, why helium is used in weather balloons? In that case, we should mention that because it is having a complete shell, so C should be the right answer. But normal balloons, it's not about the reactivity, it's just because it is having a low density, so it can easily rise. Question 23. Which elements in the table are the transition? E forms with the charge 3 plus ion only. So what does it mean? It means like it doesn't, to be a transition element, it should have a variable oxidation state. So E is not a transition element because it does not have variable oxidation. So any answer which include E cannot be right. Then F forms F plus 1. So this is a variable oxidation state, that is true. Then G only form white salts. So white salts only form white salts. So characteristic of the transition element, they tend to form a colored compound. So any option, so G is non-transition. So any option which include G is also incorrect. So this is also incorrect. So what we are left with, we are left with only option D. That and used in a catalytical converter or used as a catalyst because transition element, they have a characteristic that they can act as a catalyst. Question 24, element R forms covalent compound with silicon, as you can see. So covalent compound, what does it mean? If silicon is a group 4 element, so it is a non-metal. And whenever a covalent compounds are formed when two non-metals are mixed with each other. So this is a non-metal, combination of two non-metals. So silicon is a non-metal, R should also be a non-metal. How we identify R should be a non-metal? Because they mention it is forming a covalent compound. So covalent compound is always between the two non-metals. So the nature, so it will be metallic or a non-metallic character for R. So R cannot have a metallic character, it should be a non-metal. So either C can be an answer or D. But non-metals, we don't find non-metals in group 2. So that's why D is the right answer, because in group 2, we have metal. Question 25. Some properties of metal J are listed. J does not react with cold water. J can react with hydrochloric acid, and no reaction occur when oxide of J is heated with carbon. So we have the element in terms of reactivity series, we have potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and platinum. The position of the carbon is between aluminum and zinc, and position of hydrogen is between lead and copper. The first one they mentioned does not react with cold water. Only three elements here can react with cold water. So with water, they can react with cold water. They can react with steam only, and there is no reaction with cold water, not with steam. So the first thing they mentioned that it can not react with cold water, so it cannot be potassium, sodium, or calcium. It should be below. So any option which includes sodium cannot be an answer. The second, react with dilute acids. So reaction with acid till copper, till lead, sorry, till this point, when we compare so when we compare the reactivity till this point, till lead, they can react with dilute acids. Dilute and here they can react with only concentrated acids only. So it means the element should be it can be from magnesium till lead. It cannot be copper. So it cannot be copper. Then the third one, no reaction occur when the oxide of a J is heated with carbon. So means this metal, this is more reactive than carbon because, like example, if I have that metal J is there, and I try to heat with carbon, there's no reaction. It means carbon is less reactive. So we already minimize the space that element can be from magnesium till lead, from reaction with acid, and then reaction with carbon. So these elements, carbon can react with zinc, iron, and lead, but it cannot react with aluminum or magnesium. So J can be an aluminum or J can be magnesium. So we don't have option of aluminum. We have only magnesium. So that's why C is the right answer for this. So this is related to the reactivity series as well as reaction of metal with water, with acid, and heating the oxide of a metal with coke or a carbon. Question 26. Some metal nitrate and metal carbonate decompose when heated strongly. Metal Q nitrate decompose to give a salt and a colorless gas. So there is a salt given off and the colorless gas is there. So whenever we decompose the nitrate, only two nitrates are there which on decomposition gives colorless gas, metal nitrite. So that is potassium nitrate or sodium nitrate, because when we heat potassium nitrate, it gives potassium nitrite plus oxygen. Sodium nitrate gives sodium nitrite plus oxygen. Other, if it was a copper nitrate, on heating, it gives copper oxide metal, or even it's a calcium nitrate, so it gives calcium oxide plus nitrogen dioxide, which is a brown gas, plus oxygen. But they mentioned when we heat it, it is giving a colorless gas, so it means oxygen gas is given off. So either it can be a potassium or a sodium nitrate. So only one option is available, that is sodium nitrate. And carbonate does not decompose on heating. So remember, potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate are stable to heat. There is no change, no chemical change when we supply the heat energy to these carbonates. Question 27. Which substances are used in extraction of aluminium? So bauxite, that is the ore of the aluminium, and cryolite is used as a solvent to lower the melting point. So A is the right answer. Question 28. Different types of steel alloys are manufactured by changing the percentage of a carbon. The properties of four different types of steel alloys are shown. So percentage of a carbon, the strength of alloy, and hardness of alloy. What are the properties of a steel alloy contain 0.23% of a carbon? So 0.23% of a carbon. This is a percentage from 0.1 to 0.3. So 0.23 will be in between. So if it contains 0.23% of a carbon, then what were the characteristic strength? It will have a high strength and its hardness of alloy will be medium. So C will be the right answer. Question 29. Ammonia is made by reacting nitrogen with hydrogen in a Haber's process. The equation for a process is shown. Which change in a reaction condition would produce a greater yield? Like how we increase the rate or shift the equilibrium towards the right hand side. Adding more catalyst, increasing. First thing, reversible reactions, rate is affected, but not the yield. Yield is not affected by a catalyst. So any option which include one is totally wrong. Increasing a pressure, when we increase the pressure, equilibrium will shift towards side where number of moles are less. So it will shift towards the right hand side. Whenever equilibrium shift towards the right hand side, the yield will increase. So any option which include 2 is correct. Then increasing the size of a particle when iron catalyst. So when we are changing the catalyst amount, increasing or decreasing, that only affect the rate. Does equilibrium is only affected by 3 factors. One is by adding or removal of a product or reactant. So if we add or remove reactant or a product, that is one thing. Number 2, the pressure can affect the equilibrium, the balance, and the temperature can also shift the equilibrium depending on the type of reaction. Question 30, which process remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere? So how carbon dioxide is removed from our atmosphere? Combustion release carbon dioxide, so it does not increase, it does not remove carbon dioxide. Fermentation, a glucose or sugar solution in the presence of yeast, which is having enzyme form alcohol and carbon dioxide. So that also increases the carbon dioxide. In a photosynthesis, green plants absorb carbon dioxide and water vapor from the atmosphere. So that's how the amount of a carbon dioxide will be reduced in the atmosphere. Which catalyst is used for a contact process? Contact process is used to manufacture sulfuric acid, and we use vanadium pentoxide or V2O5. Iron is there in a Haber's process. Calcium oxide group 2 element cannot be a catalyst, and manganese 4 oxide can be, but that is for a decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. So for a Haber's process, for a contact process, it's vanadium pentoxide, and for Haber's process, it is iron. Question 32. When a white solid Z react with hydrochloric acid, it produces a gas. The same gas produced when compound Z is heated strongly. So when we react, like example, if a white solid is a metal, if metal is mixed with acid, it gives salt plus hydrogen. But metal cannot be thermally decomposed like metal. We supply heat energy, by supplying heat energy, we can melt the metal, but there is no thermal decomposition of a metal. So any option which include metal cannot be right. Then if Z was calcium carbonate, so if Z is calcium carbonate, when calcium carbonate reacted with hydrochloric acid, it gives calcium chloride plus carbon dioxide plus water. So carbon dioxide gas is given off. And if we thermally decompose calcium carbonate, thermal decomposition of a calcium carbonate gives calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So you can clearly see that when the same gas is given off, they mention same gas is given off when compound Z is heated strongly. So if the compound Z is a calcium carbonate, when we react with acid, it would give carbon dioxide. When we thermally decompose, it also gives carbon dioxide. That's why B is the right answer. Why calcium hydroxide cannot be the right answer? Because if a compound Z was calcium hydroxide, when we mix with hydrochloric acid, it should produce calcium chloride salt and water. It does not give off gas. But in the question, it is giving off gas when react with acid. That's why this is incorrect. Same thing for calcium oxide. A metal oxide reacted with hydrochloric acid gives salt, so calcium chloride salt plus water will be there. So again, there is no gas given off. So that's why option D is also incorrect. Question 33, what is the structure of butanoic acid? So carboxylic acid, C double bonded with O and H, or we can also say COOH, or we can also say CO2H. We can represent in this manner. So but means N is equals to 4, like there are 4 carbon atoms. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this cannot be an answer. This is 1, 2, 3. 4 carbon atoms are there. So this is butanoic acid. What about C? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is pentanoic acid. What about D? D is actually not an acid. D is an ester because C double bonded with O and O, or it is CO2. So this is an ester. It is methyl 1, 2, 3, 4 butanoate. So B is the right answer, which is a carboxylic acid, butanoic acid, which contain 4 carbon atoms per molecule. Question 34. Compound Z contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The molecule of compound Z has 4 hydrogen atoms and 2 carbon atoms. The compound Z can be made by oxidation of alcohol. So it contains 2 carbon atoms. It contains 4 hydrogen atoms. And compound Z, this compound Z, how we can prepare? Made by oxidation of alcohol. So when we do oxidation of alcohol, what it produces? It produces carboxylic acid. So it means the compound Z should be carboxylic acid because it is produced by oxidation of alcohol. Alcohol oxidized to carboxylic acid. And this compound contains 2 carbon atoms. It is having oxygen as well. There is oxygen, but they did not specify how many oxygen. But it is having oxygen, and it is formed by oxidation of alcohol. So compound Z should be a carboxylic acid. So which one is the carboxylic acid? So C is the carboxylic acid. Question 35. Which statement about the homologous series and isomerism is correct? Homologous series, when compound will have the similar chemical properties, belongs to same group of family, we call homologous. And isomerism means they have a different structures. So butane and butene are structural isomers. That is wrong because butane is alkane and butene is alkene. They are not isomers of each other. Compound in the same homologous series, they will have the same general formula. That's true. For example, if we talk about alkane is one homologous series, so all the members of alkane we can find by using a general formula CN H2N plus 2. Alkene, we can find them by using a formula CN H2N. So B is the right. Why not C? Compound in the same homologous series have same molecular. No, they don't have same molecular formula. Like example, in alkane, methane is CH4, ethane is C2H6, propane is C3H8. So they all have different number of carbon and hydrogen atom. Structural isomers have different. Structural isomers have the same molecular formula but different structures. Question 36. Which statement about alkanes is correct? They burn in oxygen. That's true, because all alkanes, whenever we have alkane, complete combustion or even incomplete combustion, complete combustion gives carbon dioxide and water, and incomplete carbon monoxide and water, or unburned carbon, C will be there. They contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's wrong, because alkanes are hydrocarbon. And because they are all alkane, alkene, alkynes, they all are hydrocarbons, so they contain carbon and hydrogen only. They contain a double bond. That is wrong, because these are alkanes, they have a single bond. And they contain ionic bond. These are, they have a covalent bond because the bonds are formed between the two non-metals. So A is the right answer. Question 37. What is the advantage of manufacturing ethanol by fermentation? The process is very fast. That is wrong. Process is very slow. Ethanol required no separation. Wrong, because when we form alcohol by fermentation of glucose or a sugar solution, so we have to separate this alcohol from water. So fraction distillation is used. Raw material used are renewable. That's true. The renewable raw materials which we are using for this are renewable, and there are no other product. That is wrong, because there are other product like carbon dioxide gas is also given off when sugar solution in the presence of yeast convert into alcohol. It also give off carbon dioxide. Question 38. P, Q, R, and S are four organic compound. P is unsaturated hydrocarbon, carbon-carbon double bond. Q burn, but otherwise it is unreactive. Like it can be burnt, but otherwise it does not react. But alkenes are reactive. And R contain carbon-carbon single bond and carbon-carbon double bond. So if there is a double bond, it means that is also alkene. And S undergo addition polymerization, so that is also alkene. About the Q, because they mentioned it can burn, but it is unreactive, but alkenes are reactive. So unsaturated hydrocarbon means double bond is there. And if there is a single bond and a double bond, so that is also categorized as alkene. And if it undergo addition polymerization, so alkene and undergo addition polymerization. So P, R, and S are actually alkenes. This is a synthetic polymer is shown. So what kind of linkage when C double bonded with an N? So we call that as a amide or a peptide linkage. The structure shows that this is polyamide. If it was a polyester, then it should have an ester linkage between the molecule. But it is polyamide. And how polyamide is formed? It is formed by condensation, polymerization. Polyamide, polyester, protein, fats, carbohydrates are all formed by condensation, polymerization. Which substance is a natural polymer? Ethene, it's a monomer. Tyrolene or polyester, it is not a natural, it is artificial, man-made. Nylon also man-made. So D is the right answer, that protein is the natural polymer. So this was